All right, it's Tuesday night. That means the Monica Brandt Show is live tonight. I'm so excited to be here again. I am Monica Brandt, your host. And if you didn't notice that I am Monica Brandt, because my name is right here on the screen. So, all right, so I am so excited. So tonight, my guest tonight is legendary bodybuilding icon, 6-time Miss Olympia champion. She is a successful actor in both movies and TV, as well as hosted some fitness shows on ESPN. She's a distinguished author, an international cover model. She's an inductee of the IFBB Hall of Fame, National Fitness Hall of Fame, as well Muscle Beach Venice Bodybuilding Hall of Fame. She is the first woman to be presented with the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Arnold Classic. She's a devoted wife and mother of 2 whose decorated journey has helped create the foundation for thousands of women to participate in our beloved bodybuilding and fitness industry. So please help me welcome Miss Cory Everson Donia. Claudia, will you roll her film? All right, I think we're on. We're on live. Hi, Cory.
Hi. How are you?
I am fabulous. It's so good to see you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Oh, so good to see you too. It's been way too long.
I know, right? And that's why I started these shows, and it's been about a year now because I wanted to connect with the people from my industry that I know and care about and have had, some have those people having had influence on me or having influence on the industry. And so it's just been really an amazing year for me. And I'm so thankful to have you on here and get to spend this time with you. And, every time I get to connect with one of you legendary athletes, it's just it's remarkable and it's awesome conversations. So I can't wait. I have like 10,000 notes for you, questions and all kinds of good stuff I want to talk about. I mean, look at all my stuff. Like
You did your homework.
I'm an overachiever, but maybe not like you in Miss 6-time.
We all who have accomplished things. Yeah. Overachiever.
Yes, overachiever. I mean, going through everything, like there's just so much information. There's so much rich history that you've done and been involved in. And, I'm like reading and learning and listening to stuff. And, it's just good to kind of hear different things. Like, of course, I got to hear some of your other interviews. And of course, then tonight, Claudia, my show producer, she's like, oh, look at these pieces of artwork that Cory sent over. I'm like blown away at the beautiful. I mean, look at this. I want that picture for my wall. We'll hope that my husband doesn't, because he's a horse trainer. So, I hope he doesn't have horses that he's going to do that with. But then look, you got elephants. I mean, the detail. I'm just, I'm blown away, Cory, that look at the beautiful colors and if you go, Claudia, go back to that racehorse one, because when you look at the expression in the horse's eyes and in the chomping of the bit and the muscles in the legs, like, I don't know how you do this. This is just incredible artwork. I'm seriously, I'm wowed. I'm really wowed. And I would love to see about getting that one with all the horse heads going through, because I don't know if you know, my husband and I have horse training business.
Thank you.
And I've grown up with horses my entire life, and I would absolutely love to maybe talk to you about getting a copy of that for my home. So with that, we're going to move on to some bodybuilding and stuff. But I was like, wow, just
for sure. I absolutely.
We've got a little bit of delay here.
In college, I majored in interior design, but I know I hear that. So
I'm not sure what's
over you. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
My major was in interior design, and then go ahead.
I don't know what's going on. We were great earlier, so it seems like maybe I'm not sure. No, I hear you fine. It just seems like there's a delay. So I'm just going to ask you some things and then let you talk because I'm not sure why there's a delay. Right. So no, you're fine. So why don't we kind of step back because I want to hear all about that stuff. But just in the beginning right now, we've got the crazy year 2020 and now 2021. So I'd love to hear something super positive because I know you're full of positives. What positives and blessings have come out of 2020 and 2021 for you?
Well, I've always been a homebody, but now my kids had to be homebodies too. And I've got two 23-year-olds that I adopted from Russia, from orphanages when they were 3 years old and 5 years old. And it's one of the things I've enjoyed actually with 2020, 2021 is the kids were stuck home with me. And so we had a lot of us time, a lot of family time together. And today was the first day that I was able to actually book a ticket home to see my mom, who I haven't seen in over a year because she's in Chicago. And so I am just grateful that things are lifting now where we can go back to the gym and we can start to exercise again. And one of the things that's been kind of cool is in my neighborhood during this whole 2020, 2021 is before I'd never see anybody outside. And then this last year, everybody has been walking outside with their family, with their kids, with their husbands, with their dogs. And it's been just awesome because to me, that's how it should be in the first place. We should spend more family time together.
I certainly agree. And I see the same thing here in our neighborhood with more people outside and more people walking, even in the evenings, because, we have now with the change of time, we have the night times sometimes it doesn't get dark till about 9:30 even. So we have, just beautiful nights here and people out. And I agree. It's really beautiful to see more people together and spending that time. So I can't wait to kind of talk more about your children from Russia, because I know that's been, such an impact on your life. And I think that would be beautiful for people to hear about that. But before we go there, I want to go back to, Cory, as growing up, where did you grow up and kind of how was, I've had a fly here, Texas. How did you grow up and what was it like for you growing up and what were you into as a child and into going into school?
I grew up in a place called Riverwoods, Illinois, very small town. And we were, the high school that I went to really excelled in sports and women's sports. And so, I grew up playing volleyball, badminton. I was on the swim team, the gymnastics team, the track team, and the badminton team in high school. And then I got a full ride scholarship to college to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where I was on the badminton team, the gymnastics team, and the track team. And I was so fortunate because in bodybuilding, so much is based upon your, the skeleton you come in with. And then it's also based upon the work that you put in. So being in gymnastics gave me kind of an early benefit of sport because I already had to really develop legs, really develop upper body from the gymnastics. So I'm really grateful for being in all those sports. And then my mom and dad are both athletes. My dad was a gymnast and a tennis player. And then my mom, she could do any sport. I mean, any sport. She's so strong. And so I grew up with my mom and dad as role models. As you know, we didn't really, grow up thinking girls can't do this and boys should do this and girls should do this, because we all grew up kind of as tomboys. And so everything was okay to do. So we never had any stigma that we had to go against saying, oh no, that's not okay for girls to do that. In our family, if you were strong enough to do it, it was cool to do it.
Well, that's impressive. Okay, first of all, there's just some things that stood out to me, like full ride scholarship. Was that full ride for sports and academics, or is that one or the other?
It was it was mostly academics. So, and then I wasn't required to do any sports in college, but it was so in my blood, I had to do it. I loved all the sports that I did. And to me, it was so great because early on, when I was 18 years old, I was able to go to Germany and Switzerland and Austria and Liechtenstein and all these different countries with my track team competing. And I did a thing called the pentathlon, which is high jump, long jump, shot put, half mile, and hurdles. And I was fortunate enough to win the Big Ten 4 years in a row. And so it really did give me a good start, into bodybuilding, because basically everybody on my track team could have been a bodybuilder back then. I mean, the sprinters had amazing arms and shoulders and legs, and but it was great because it allowed me to travel, and and I always approach bodybuilding as like a team member. Like, even though you're competing against somebody else standing against you on stage, to me it was still a team, one for all for one. If somebody needed help, I wanted to help them. If somebody was getting busy, I jump in to help them, because it was, to me, I looked at it like a team sport.
Wow. Okay. So I come from a track background as well. And that's one of the things I always tell people when they ask about how to build glutes and legs. I'm like, sprinting? Sprinting? Uh-oh, we froze up. Here we go. So,
yes.
So I'm still, yeah.
We did weighted vests and we did stairs, bounding up stairs with weighted vests.
So I get all of that. And, I don't know if you know how much of sprinting I was doing in my 40s, and I'd love to get back into it, like competitive, running for the USATF Masters. And you would be great in this again. And they run all the way up to people are in their 90s running. So I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it's something to consider maybe, because it's a lot of fun. I was actually just looking at a Facebook group that was the coach that I was on his team, and he was a Southern California team, and I was running out of Texas. So he has a really good team down there, and he had asked me to come run for him with his team and be, associated with his team. And so we ran. And so one of my last competitions in 2013, I was getting ready for the World's Masters track meet, and I decided to get on stage. And like you said, when you're training for sprinting, like, your body can be ready for anything. Like, yeah, I wasn't getting ready for a show. I was getting ready for the track meet, and the show fell in place. So I totally get that. So, okay, you said you won 4 years in a row. You won the pentathlon. What did you say for track?
Pentathlon. Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was indoor and outdoor. So we had, in Wisconsin, outdoor track and then indoor track. And so it was, the pentathlon was the high jump, long jump, half hurdles. And then the year that I retired or graduated, they added 2 more events. It's the J20, and then it became the heptathlon.
Awesome. So just winning.
Joyner won the Olympics.
Oh, okay. So just winning's in your blood. It's just in your blood. When you're do sprinting, and of course then you had the gymnastics background, and watching your routines, you could kind of see some of the training that comes from that, like the performance, the dance, and then of course all of the great arm movements and the leg development. Like, I can see all of it folding nicely into, your physique. That's so fun. And what is badminton? I don't even know what badminton is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Badminton.
So, yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, it was the best. It was it's like backyard badminton, but it's the most highly competitive sport I think I've ever been in. And it's so much finesse and technique. And of course, you know, I tried to muscle my way through it. And, you know, they have it in the Olympics. It's unbelievable the amount of conditioning you need for it. It's just absolutely fantastic.
Huh. Okay. I've never known anything about it, but that's amazing. You've just, I mean, and then you were in swimming too, some, right?
Swimming in high school. I did a lot of competitive swimming in high school for 4 years, actually. And it probably would have been my best sport because I'm really built for it, being really tall and, you know, long arms. And so I think, you know, if I look back, I think maybe the sport that I probably could have gone the furthest in would have been swimming.
Wow. How tall are you, Cory?
I'm only 5'9", so I was a little bit short for the pentathlon. Pentathlon, like in my nationals, which was actually at UCLA, I was little compared to the other girls, and I always had another 2 inches, you know, to be able to be more competitive with the pentathletes.
Okay. Well, I'm 5'4", so I'm the short one here. 5'9" sounds like a great height. Sounds like a good height. What is your nationality?
I'm 100% German. So
really?
My mom and my dad came over from Germany as young adults, and so my maiden name is Kneuer, and it's Kneuer. It's very German. My dad was a brewmaster, and he had a brewery since 1826 in our family name, Brauerei Kneuer. And we spend a lot of time in Germany and stay with my Oma. And my mom is from a little town called Bad Königshofen, and my dad was from Munich. So we're 100% German. And then my husband is 100% Italian, and my children are 100% Russian.
Oh my gosh, that is cool. That's some very cool history. So I assume your parents are, well, first of all, are your parents still alive?
My mother is.
Your mother?
My father passed away in 2008.
Okay. Wow. Well, and they've been here a long time in the brewery.
Mother,
wow.
She's still strong. The brewery was in Germany until, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, because I know the audio has just been really challenging. Do you have another spot that maybe you have better reception? Because I know my computer is hardwired. So I'm just wondering, do you have can you see, on your phone, can you see if the reception is strong? Can you see that or not?
No. Want me to go somewhere else and see if it works better?
I think so, because I want people to be able to hear well, and I don't want to jeopardize our fun conversation. And I know that it's a time lapse, and it's really breaky. So we can hang tight for a minute.
Yeah,
it was great earlier, but yeah. Thank you, sweetie. We'll hang tight.
Okay, let me go give it a try. Okay. Okay, hang on. Okay.
The Arnold Schwarzenegger Lifetime Achievement Award is presented each year to an individual that exemplifies the meaning of the words health and fitness. For the past 7 years, the award has been a representation of commitment, innovation, endurance, and motivation. Past recipients of this prestigious award have been Joe Weider, Reg Park, Jim Lorimer, Bill Pearl, Frank Zhang, Jack LaLanne, and Lee Haney. This year's award is a first. This bodybuilder, fitness expert, actress, and role model is the first woman to receive the Arnold Schwarzenegger Lifetime Achievement Award. This year's Pioneer Award winner is Cory Everson. As a bodybuilder, Cory is the only woman to win Miss Olympia, an unprecedented.
Hello.
Oh. Hey.
Is that better?
I think so.
Is it better?
Wow, I think so. And you look
Yay.
even, cooler with the dark background like that. Yes, I think that's going to work better. Yeah, I think we have it. So yay.
Okay.
Thank you for doing that. I was just trying to.
Good.
Yeah, I was just over.
It was crackling too.
Yeah, just sometimes the reception's not so good. I was looking at all of our comments. Do you remember John Butler over up in Toronto area with Muscle Mag? He was a photographer and he worked with
Yes.
Robert Kennedy. Yeah, so he's on here. He said hi and checking in, and he wanted to know. Yeah, so he wants to know, which you don't have to talk about right now because it'll cut into, but later. He wants to know what cool stories you have about Robert Kennedy with Muscle Mag. So we'll have to talk about that a little later. And we've got a few other people that are just Quitman and Jim and two legends, Icon Cory. This is Early Gonzalez, Early Gonzalez, Brian, Kim Crow. She says hello. And we've got the two most beautiful women in bodybuilding from Rivaldo Salza from Brazil. So thoughtful.
I like it.
We'll take it. And my husband's actually on. He's at dinner. And he's Mario says Cory looks great. Actually, my husband says that we could be sisters with our backgrounds with the track and everything. And then going into the industry. And I just have to say this, and this may not really be for you or not, I don't know, but if you ever want to get back into running track, I'll have to send you where you can go see the scores, because they have all the scores and you run in your age group. So you run like I'm now 50, so I'll run in the 50 to 54 group if I was ever to run again. And then there's a 55 to 60, and then 60, 55 to 59, 60, sorry, and 61 to, so it goes in groups of 5. Anyways, so and then you could run any of your races. So what races actually did you do? Wait, you did all field events, or did you do some track actual run stuff too?
I did both. I did hurdles, and I also did the mile relay.
Okay.
Here in Germany. I love the relays. And it's so funny because I'm still really close with my college coach, Lauren Seagrave, and he's coaching a bunch of Olympic athletes. So hopefully he gets to come out here in May.
He can throw you over a routine, get you ready. Hurdles were, and hurdles were my thing too. So I didn't run college, but I just love it. I love it. So that is so fun, Cory. But seriously, if
you're injury free.
Mm-hmm. Injury free, yeah. And I still go to the track and do workouts.
Knees are good. Everything's good. I
have one little weird thing in my hip, and I have a feeling it's because I came off a horse a few years ago, and I had one of my soft tissue therapists kind of analyzed me the other day, and he's like, I think you might have a labrum tear. So, but other than that, and I still do everything. I just have pain, but I still can do everything. I don't think it's like an actual joint, any degradation or anything. I just think there's something there that's, but I still do everything like as if it's not there. So, but nothing holding me back. So let's get back to you. So, okay. So college, you're a brainiac and super smart and beautiful and athletic, and you've got everything going for you, and your artwork is amazing. So obviously you studied well. And you did great. Interior design is what you graduated with. Is that correct? And did you go into actually doing business?
And I still use it. I did. When I graduated from college, I got a job offer, and I just did hospitals, libraries, and offices. And I loved it. It was in Madison, and I loved it. And I never thought I was going to go into bodybuilding. It never occurred to me that it was even an option. I just assumed I'd be an interior designer. And then when Jeff and I moved out to California, and he was working for Readers, I applied for interior design jobs. I had no intention of ever really being Miss Olympia or competing like that.
Okay, so you're this amazing athlete all your life, and then you're like, I'm just going to quit being an athlete and do interior design. Like, were there any, let's just set aside bodybuilding, okay? Because I know that wasn't a plan. I get that. But leaving this huge athletic legacy as a teenager, child, and college athlete, how do you graduate with interior design and just don't think of anything else to compete in? Or had you even gotten to that place yet? Or then you got married and then it's just a whirlwind?
I just figured it was my time to grow up. It's like you compete in college and you go. Honestly, there wasn't really a lot of opportunities for women in sports, none.
Right.
And so,
none.
When my sister and I started exercising in gyms, there wasn't even women's locker rooms. It was like we would have to watch, the bathroom door because it was only guys in the gym. So, our college was actually quite progressive in that we had women's sports, and we had a weight room that the women would use to improve, whether it was gymnastics or track. Even the badminton women trained with weights. It was unbelievable. So I loved that time, and I loved being a part of that wave that went from it's not cool to it's cool, to fix and improve your sport or improve your body or improve your speed or your stamina, whatever it was.
Wow. Okay. So that's awesome. And I get that, okay, what are you going to compete in? And I was kind of in that place myself. And when I graduated high school in '89, and I've been an athlete my whole life, and I went to college, but it was for horses. And so it was a little different. But so when you met Jeff, you were in college still, or were you graduated?
No, I was my freshman year in college. And so he was the strength coach, and we had a couple of us pentathletes, that are really a little bit more muscular than the other girls. We would go to the weight room, and we would try to improve our strength for shot put and, the throwing events that we were doing and the jumping events. And so he just said, you've got a really good build. Have you ever thought about doing bodybuilding? Which I had never heard of it.
What?
Me, it was what is that? And then you look at the pictures, and it was almost like a combination of girls' gymnastics and sports, It was really a nice, and I was like, okay, well, maybe when I quit competing in these are sports, I'll do it. But I really wasn't interested in it until my senior year in college.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So you met him in the gym, and he obviously was probably a stud because he was still nice looking as an older man. I'm sure you guys probably were like the golden children, the golden couple, the two of you. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
so he encouraged you were. I love it. You were. I'm sure everyone was like, probably people didn't know who to look at more. Is that the case? Like people didn't know
Well,
to look
he
at,
was
like,
always,
when you're staring.
he was
Uh-oh,
always in my eyes. Yeah, he was always in my eyes the superstar. Like I was just this dumb little track athlete, and he was an Olympic lifter. He had the National Olympic Lifting Championship record for like 11 years. He held it. He was an All-American shot put, discus, hammer thrower. And I was just this dumb little track athlete. And he was the strength coach of the university. Like he was so big. He was just enormous, in not only his education, but also in stature. Like, I wanted to bow down to him, but I was such a goofball. And, the girls in my track team were such goofballs. We would just go and fool around and play jokes and stuff. But
That's so
those
funny.
were good days for sure.
How much older was he than you?
Like 6 or 7 years, 7 years.
Okay. So he had quite so by the time you met him,
he was like an adult. He was an adult when I was still just, pardon me?
oh yeah, we have this delay thing going again. I was just thinking though, I was thinking that he had probably so much experience and he was so excited to share that with you.
Yes, and he was so mature. I've always been really immature, and I still am. And he was always very mature, and he like had our life planned out, and just a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant man. Who I just respect and love so much. And but I always thought he was going to be the superstar, and I would have preferred that. I would have preferred that he was the superstar and that I could support him, because I don't think I handled it as well as the guys do. It's a lot of, what was it, for like maybe 10 years? Every weekend we'd travel, every weekend, I guest pose, always had to be in shape, always had to be on some kind of dumb diet. It was a lot of stress, and if girls, when you're signing autographs, if you're not super friendly with everybody, they'll call you the B word. Where guys, they just kind of sign their name and and throw the picture out. And I think it's harder to be a female athlete than it would be to be a male athlete, because we've got more things that people can kind of attack you about. Oh, she wasn't very nice, and she was smooth, and guys just have to be big and enormous and not even cut up, but women were smaller. I have the same, and if you don't look kind of defined and in really great shape when you're on stage, then you just look like a normal person. And I think it's a lot harder for a woman to, well, what do you think? Don't you think it's hard? I mean, it was that dieting and training, and I loved the training, but I never really enjoyed the competition. I loved the training though.
Mm-hmm. So you love the training, but not necessarily being on the stage, or just getting prepared to be on the stage? You weren't a fan of being
both. I think I'm a little more shy, and I don't seem that way because I'm outgoing, but I do have to kind of like hide a little bit of the shyness. And so I never really, I always wanted to give the audience 110%. I always wanted them to be so happy. And, I always demanded perfection from myself, even when I was just guest posing in the off season. And, you do that weekend after weekend after weekend, and it's exhausting, and it's physically and mentally seriously exhausting. And what I should have done is I should have taken time off and not done guest posings and not done seminars, and just taken some time off and chilled out and gone to movies and gone to dinner and done all the fun stuff. But we were so, it's like you got to get it when you're being offered it. And so I just think I overdid it.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And my husband and I talk about that a lot, like trying to, where can we let some things go? You know, we both have demanding careers, and where can we let some things go? But I understand that exactly what you're saying. Like at that day, and when you're in that moment of, in that pinnacle of the career, like you don't know different, you know, looking back, you can think like that. But at the time you're like, well, we might not get another appearance, or if I don't do this, then that may not happen, or I want to keep my name out there. And you know, I'm assuming you used, and maybe you can touch on this more, but my thoughts are that you're using the competitions to keep your career going, and also probably a competitive side to you is thinking, well, maybe I want to get back on stage and just see if I, you know, can come in better or different and still come in, because you're a competitive person. And so am I wrong on that? Because what if you didn't really like it, there was something that brought you back into it, or was it just the competitive cycle of how these shows end up going for people sometimes?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit of that, because it's like I never took time off, so I was always in an approachable shape to compete. And there is no money in bodybuilding. Like the most amount of money I ever won in an entire year was $20,000. $20,000 to be the best bodybuilder in the world is ridiculous.
What year was that? What year did you earn 20,000 in the Olympia? What year was that?
That was my last year, 1989.
Okay, so Cory, 1998, I win the Olympia, and I got 20,000. It hasn't changed a whole lot, probably. So I don't know where they are now.
Makes me sick. But, and then the first couple of years, it was like 10,000. And it's like, you don't do the guest post and do the webinars, that's not going to be enough to live on. And so, you know, it's never been fair between the men and the women. I mean, and the men don't really bring that much attention, you know, in the magazines. I mean, the covers are for the women and the guys, yes, you know, but I think women brought more attention to bodybuilding than almost guys did, because we brought it into being okay just to go to the gym and be in shape. And women wanted that to improve their shape. It could be a little bit more generic than just so hardcore. But like, I never was under a leader contract, you know, and a lot of athletes were. And so funny, people are like, wow, you must have made so much money on all those covers. You know, I'm like, no, I paid for my transportation and for the bathing suits. You know, it wasn't full of, you know, it wasn't really that glorified. It was more of just, you did it so that you could keep your name out there, so you could get more appearances or try to get a contract. But you know how hard it was to get contracts, because you couldn't really get one if you were with Weeders, because then they wouldn't put you in the magazine. It was really a weird time.
Mm-hmm. I understand that weird time kind of transferred into the years when I was, you know, kind of heavy and all to it in it as well. And there's a lot of gray areas there that you try to sift through, right, and figure out along the way. So but you know, it's interesting, because as you're going through it, as you went through all those years, I'm sure it never dawned on you that your name was helping to create the foundation that we have today for the women's events, right? And it's just, here you are walking through this, competing and getting ready for shows and doing guest appearances and not having a social life really, and having to, you know, hug sweaty strangers and sign autographs, and yet your name is creating this foundation, you know, this legacy over time, and look where it is now, you know, with all your Hall of Famers. Like, I want to know about that part. Like, do they still do that?
Well, what's so weird is I never really realized what an impact that we sport until recently, because I really, once I quit competing, my main goal was to have a family. And so I changed my life in 180 degrees in other directions so that I could have a family and be out of the sport. And the sport started changing where it was not so much something that I was going to be proud of anymore. And it was just, I wasn't able to keep up with the pace of where the other girls were headed. And so I quit, and it was the right time. I have no regrets about that. And then my whole goal was to have kids. And, you know, we struggled in a number of ways with my blood clotting problems, and ended up going to Russia and adopting kids, which I'm so grateful for. I would do that again in a heartbeat. I mean, it's been the most amazing experience. My kids are amazing. They're the loves of life. But for 20 years, I didn't look back into fitness, and I was completely out of it. I was my kids the same way I approached being Miss Olympia, all or nothing. And so I put in 100% of my time raising my kids, teaching them, bringing them to church, taking them to volleyball and dance and water polo, and doing homework with them. And, you know, and it wasn't until honestly about 2 years ago when I could come up for air and breathe, because my kids were then 21 or whatever, or 20, and on their own, and, you know, and not needing me so much. And so I put 100% of my time for, like, you know, and I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom and do all that, because oftentimes you feel like you're a single parent, even though you're married. You feel like a single parent because your husband's working, he's gone, and I mean, I used to tell Jeff, I used to bring my kids over to Jeff's house, and I used to say, oh my God, it's like a race against the clock every day, because not only did we have our kids, Steve and I have our kids, Boris and Nina, but we had his father living with us, and he was 94 when he passed. And so he had a lot of health problems, and I was taking care of him too. So it was a lot. I mean, I used to always say it was easier being Miss Olympia than it was being a parent, you know, and a caretaker. But again, it was the best time of my life. I wouldn't have traded any of that for the world.
No, I'm sure. Wow. Okay. Well, I want to talk more about that, but we've got a couple of questions still with the Olympia, because, you know, everyone's like, okay, there are some pretty cool pieces there, and you won 6 years in a row. Was there competition? Like, well, there was competition, but who was your competition? Like, if you had to look back and say, you know, you knew you were going to go up against a couple people that you knew were going to come in strong, who were those people?
But Frances always came in strong. She never came in off shape. So she was a big competitor. And then Anya Langer, who I think probably was my biggest competitor ever, because she not only had this beautiful shape and symmetry, but she had such an elegance about her, and her presentation and her posing, and she was so likable, and she was absolutely stunning, just absolutely beautiful. And she would have given me the biggest run for my money, but she just came in a little bit smooth, smooth. And I think that's what, you know, was the difference between the two of us. We had very similar everything, but I was a little bit more honed, maybe because I'm a little bit older. And then she disappeared. I think she had a son, and so I think then she just didn't compete anymore. And then I think my first year was Rachel. She was the biggest competitor, and then my last year was a girl named Sandy Rydell, and she ended up being very close in our competition, but she also had a lot more muscle than me. And so that's when I realized I can't do this, because honestly, every year I weighed about the same, maybe off 1 or 2 pounds, but it was mostly water retention or not. And so I wasn't getting bigger, stronger, more defined. Nothing was happening anymore, because I think I was at my limit. And so, I kind of fooled the judges sometimes by wearing different suits and different hair and different posing routines and doing a lot of articles, talking about, oh, my triceps have improved when really they didn't. And so I just think we did. We're like, oh my gosh, I've got a cross striation in my tricep. When it was the same tricep I had for 5 years prior. But you bring attention, to your readers, and they're like, oh yeah, wow, look at her legs are in better shape than ever, when they really were the same. So I just don't think I was progressing anymore. And I think it was my time to retire. And it was my time to think about family. And I, regret that Jeff and I never had a family, because we loved each other and we still love each other. And his goal, he was so goal oriented, and he was so smart and goal oriented. And I was more of a goofball. And I could never have been 6-time Miss Olympia if it weren't for him, because he kept me on track. He kept me focused. He did everything at the house that I didn't have to do. I didn't have to do anything. I mean, he really picked up the pace. And then the good thing is that when I quit competing on search of a family, he competed on his own, and he was amazing competitor and an amazing body and a good looking guy. And he redefined himself. Instead of being him and I being the couples champions and Miss Olympia and her husband, he got superstar and had his own TV show and his own magazine, and he was so driven. But I don't think that I would have been able to keep up with him if kids. But I do wish we had kids, So I'm so grateful for my kids, and I'm so grateful for my husband. I have a great life, and I'm so blessed, like unbelievably blessed. And that's actually when I adopted my kids, is when I became a Christian. And I wanted to give my kids the best chance they possibly could have in this life, coming from an orphanage and coming from who knows what kind of beginning they had my daughter was 5.5 years old, and my son was 3.5 years old when we met them. And I'm like, okay, when we get back to America, our whole family started going to church. And I'm like, they got baptized. And it's like God has a plan for all of us. And, my plan was, I did have my Miss Olympia previous life, but that pales in comparison to saving kids and raising them as your own and giving them this amazing chance. And to me, that's the thing that I would be known for,
Wow, well, you're right. That is the most important thing. And what does it say in scripture? God says that we're supposed to be fruitful and multiply, right? And I love that that was the goal. So what brought you over into Russia? Was there as opposed to trying to find children here in the U.S.?
Well, I have blood clotting problems, and so for me to have a child is very life-threatening for me and also for the child. So okay. We went to like a high-risk pregnancy doctor, and he's like, if you're my wife, I think it's a bad idea. I think there's other ways to fulfill a family. So this long 8-year process, we first hired a surrogate that would carry our embryo, and we would have our own natural child. But the surrogate had uterine cancer and had her uterus removed with all of the embryos. So that was that. So then we were going to adopt in the United States. Well, the first child parent, mother we met, she ended up being an alcoholic, and, we chickened out on that one. Then the next one we funded to adopt her baby. And the day of our baby shower, she decided to keep the baby. So it was like it was almost like a death in the family. You know, the girl kept her baby. This is after she lived in my house, you know, and I went to all of her doctor appointments and paid for everything. And it wasn't about the money. It was about losing a baby that you thought belonged to you and that you thought you were going to be able to raise. So then we ended up taking a break. And then we ended up meeting somebody who had adopted a child from Russia and Romania, and we met with them, and they were the best kids. And so we're like, you know, is to be a parent about having your own DNA passed on, or is it about parenting a child that needs you? And we're like, oh my gosh, it's about helping a kid and parenting them and guiding them and especially when, you know, we went to Russia to an orphanage, you are really giving a child a life, because a lot of those kids don't make it. And a lot of those kids end up, you know, getting into drugs or prostitution, or they just don't make it. And so when we went there, it was not just fulfilling our family dream or my, you know, it was really me pushing a lot, you know, but it was not just fulfilling this dream of creating a family, but it was really saving the life of a kid. And then, you know, once we had Boris, then we're like, okay, this has been pretty awesome and pretty great. Let's go get another one. And so, you know, this is when I was 40 years old. We're adopting kids. And so from basically 35 to 40, we had a lot of problems, you know, with, you know, the stories that I just told you. And so it took a long time. So it makes me more appreciative of our kids, even because it wasn't just a easy thing. It was, you know, we really had to work hard at getting these kids.
Wow. Did you say Boris was 5 when you got him?
He was 3.5. And
okay.
My daughter was 5.5.
Oh, wow.
5
so
and a
not
half years
yeah.
old. I mean, you see kids that are 5.5. Yeah, it's like amazing. And it's like, I've never filled a bottle. I've never changed a diaper. You know, the first day I had both my kids, I taught them how to swim. And it's just it was my journey and our journey. And that's the way it was supposed to be. And there are no mistakes, you know, and I think everything that led up to it was supposed to be that way. I mean, there are no mistakes. And so this was my plan, my journey all along. It was meant to be.
Well, God can use anything, right? He can, especially a willing heart. He can use that. So talk about the blood clot, because we haven't talked about that. And I just kind of heard a little bit about it on some of your other interviews. What was that all about?
Well, when I was 20 years old, I had a blood clot in my leg, and they were going to amputate my left leg. And I woke up in the middle of the night in the most massive, massive pain. And my leg was doubled in size, looked like Tom Flats, you know, from my toes all the way to my hips. And my parents rushed me to the emergency room, and I was in intensive care for 10 weeks. And then I was in critical care for another 4 weeks. And then I had to learn to walk again. And Jeff was the strength coach at that time at Madison, and he camped out in my room on a hard wooden chair and was doing his homework because he was getting his doctorate degree, his master's in exercise physiology. And he'd sit there and study and coach me. Like while I was in the hospital with IVs and my leg elevated, he was just, you've got to talk positive words into yourself. You have to tell yourself that this clot is going to dissipate. And so I would spend hours and hours just giving myself positive reinforcement and positive talk. And I'd envision my blood clearing through my veins and clearing through my body. And I swear to God, I think it helped. But so I had to learn to walk again. And then that was the first time that we ended up competing in 1981. And we did the couples competition. And I was so skinny because I had been in the hospital for so long and lost so much muscle. And so people are like, oh man, look how skinny she was, and she's developed so much. It's like, no, I was like artificially skinny because I was incapacitated for so long. But anyway, and then when I was 34, and we were going to do the surrogacy thing where I gave up my eggs and we created an embryo, and a surrogate carries your baby, and but it's your biological baby. I got another blood clot just giving up my own eggs, and so it was bad news. It was like it went from a bad situation to a worse situation, and then I was in trouble again with a blood clot, and then it was just crazy. And then my sister's cameo, she's like, well, I'll give you my eggs. I'm like, no, we don't want to have any more blood clots in this family. But it turns out that my family does have a blood clotting disorder, and it's a lot of Germans have that. A lot of Germans have a thing called protein C and protein S deficiency and factor V latent, and it's just something that's inherited. Like, we inherit the most amazing genetics from our parents. Like, I have symmetry and proportion because my mom and dad gave me those genetics. You can't create that on your own. But I also inherited some other stuff, and everybody does. And if you look at every single person, if you look at their blood panels and their body and their genetics, you get good stuff, but you also sometimes get some bad stuff.
Well, that's how God balances us out, right? Like, can't just be perfect. Yeah, I mean, God's got to like, hey, we're going to give you this, but you're going to have this some things. So, I mean, we're supposed to rejoice and be thankful for the trials that we walk through, because it says in Scripture that it creates perseverance in us, and perseverance, character, and character, hope. And so I try to remember those things. And, there's always a blessing on the other side of the trial. And it sounds like God was like, hey, Cory, I've got these 2 children over here. You need to know about them. And he finally got your attention, kept you alive, had you go through something so that you have some understanding and sympathy for other people, probably too, that suffer through some things. And even the lack of having your own children, I mean, that's something that I've dealt with on my own in a whole nother way. So, it's crazy. And again, the similarities, I haven't adopted a child, but my husband and I have been helping to raise a young girl she's from 11 and she's now 18 and a half. So we've done a lot with her and her school and just her life journey at this point. So it's been pretty remarkable. And I just think we have so many things in common, Cory. It's so cool. So I want to hear about
when can we see each other in person?
I know, right? Come to Texas and visit. We'd love to have you here.
Yeah.
Bring your kids, bring the family.
I will.
Come ride horses, and yeah, it would be fun. We're open up here. Texas is open. So we're right outside of San Antonio. There's a lot of beautiful places around here. So so I want to know, because it doesn't, I don't see a lot, and maybe I'm missing it, or they just don't have it anymore, but do they actually still have the couples? Because I think that was so cool. And I remember when I first got into the industry, I remember seeing some of the couples stuff going on, and you don't see it anymore. So is that gone?
No, it's gone. And it was the absolute best competition. Like, people are like, which Miss Olympia was your favorite? I'm like, the couples competition was my favorite.
People are like, what?
Doing it with someone else, it's beautiful. Yeah. Oh my God, it was so beautiful. And we actually had a friend of mine, her date back in Madison. He was like an acrobat and ran a circus. And he would come into the university weight room and teach Jeff and I how to do certain lifts and holds. And Mr. Schultz, he was amazing. And it was couples competition. I think if they would have kept it, would have brought more positive attention to bodybuilding. And if you remember the name Shelley Gruel, she was in couples with John Brown, and she did great. And she's my friend. And
wait, Shelley,
it's like I'm still friends with a lot of the people that did couples.
Who did you say, Shelley?
Yeah.
What she was with John Romano?
Yeah.
So what was her last
No,
name?
John Brown. This is way
Oh,
back.
okay, okay. No, you know, the only one that I'm thinking of, and I can't remember who he did couples with, but he said he used to travel all around the world, and he talked about it very fondly. And I think he even said he performed for the Queen in England one time. But Kevin, shoot, I'm spacing on his last name right now. He owns the company BNRG with the Power Crunch cookie bars.
Oh,
Kevin, I worked for the company for 5 years. And I'm spacing. Yes, and Kevin, and they did a lot of guest posing together. Yes. And he used to, so I worked for him. Beautiful. And I'm spacing on it. Yes, and he used to talk about how much fun that was and how rewarding, and put in their routines together and all that. So did you?
It's like, what I loved about it is I was just going to say, what I loved about it is that Jeff and I we both had pretty much the same build in a male and female version, but it was something you did together. Instead of all the focus being on him or all the focus being on her, you did it together, and it was a team. And I'm a team person. I like teammates. And, I think that the couples competition would have been the best thing to keep in the sport.
Yeah, something really for fun. I agree. Did you or he come up with the routines more?
We both did them. He always picked the music. He was loved music. And so he picked all my music for all my competitions. And then I pretty much came up with the routines.
Awesome. How fun. Do you have any video or pictures that you have for memory for that? Oh,
I have lots of pictures, but Mike Nephew did a lot of photography for us, and we did a lot of lifts and things for the magazines, but no videos. It's like we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have videos. We didn't pay any attention to any of that stuff back then.
Well, girl, I don't even have videos, and I was, however many years past you, like maybe whatever's on the Olympia, tapes or DVDs or whatever. But there's so much that I don't even have video of my stuff, and however many years past you guys, but nowadays everyone's got their cell phone and everyone's got video of everything. So it's like, I know. So it's frustrating, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I
don't have any videos.
Oh, so you're saying they didn't have any, they didn't even have tapes or anything back then for you guys. Is that right?
I think they have tapes, but, and I only competed as a pro 6 times. So it wasn't like I had all these opportunities to get videos, it was like once a year, my one big time a year. But,
can you imagine everything?
So great. And like we were talking about.
Kevin Lawrence. There we go. That's right, Lisa. You're correct.
Everything what?
I was just
Kevin
looking.
Lawrence.
Yes, Lisa Cesaria. She's one of my longtime fans who's become a friend, and she's a Christian gal up in Vancouver area. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. Got kids and husband, and is very dedicated to her family. And she's had some tremendous health things that she's overcome. So health complications that she's overcome, and she's pretty amazing. And she gives all the glory to the Lord. So, it's just like everyone's got something they've worked through, right? But we've got some really great comments over here. Okay, so I just want to be conscious of our time, Cory, because I don't want to keep you on all night. And I know our delay here has been a little bit challenging. So I wanted to kind of touch on a couple things, and then I want to do the rapid fire. I have 10 rapid fire questions for you. So I've got a couple other kind of topics I want to hear from you about, and then we'll do the rapid fire and start wrapping up our show. So you did all this amazing bodybuilding and athletic stuff, and just, it seems like everything you touched, was a success. And I'm sure even with, the industry, with your appearances and, with the fans, and I'm sure you put your all and made everybody feel very special with that. And so you went from that, and then you got into movies and TV, and you were hosting some really cool shows on ESPN, which I kind of got on the tail end of it with Kiana Tom's Flex Appeal. But, body shaping, were you on there with Rick Volante?
Yeah, I started body shaping. And then
Okay.
I think it was 1987. Jeff and I started body shaping. And then we did it for years. And then for some reason, we just quit doing it. And then we started another group of shows. My sister and I and Michelle LeMay and a bunch of people, we started another show called Gotta Sweat. And that was on ESPN too. And we did that from 1995 to 2000. And it was awesome. And what's so amazing is the information is still so current. Like nothing has changed really. People train differently and they do a lot of different things. But the physical therapy aspect of it, nothing has changed. Nothing's been considered outlawed from this, we weren't doing behind the neck pull downs back then either. But it's also current, like the current information. And, it's like just getting people to get up and do something is really the goal. And that's why I love the fitness shows, is because people would wake up, and if they didn't get up and do it with you, they got motivated about it, or they got excited about the information you were giving, or the nutrition tips, or the fitness tips, or the training tips. And it's just really like a kick in the butt, every morning to get up and watch some of your favorite shows just gets you motivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And, nowadays they have so many different kind of things like the Peloton and all these different, I guess, people that you can, tune into online and do different things. So it used to be like there was just this one channel, and you knew you could go there and you knew the stars, and there was actually stars that were made. And I think that's what happened with the magazines too, with Muscle Mag and Muscle and Fitness and Flex, like Iron Man. Those magazines created celebrities within our industry, and it seems like there's just so many. It's so watered down now that the fans just aren't, not the fans, the stars just aren't really, there as much. It's just a kind of a watered down version of everything, right?
I agree 100%. I mean, you can, like, my daughter opens up an app and does exercises to the app. And a lot of times people are like, well, why don't you do another fitness show? I'm like, why? There's so much stuff out there. And, I do love like what you do and what Mia Finnegan, my favorite, one of my favorites. And she does all this videos and this training. And I'm so amazed at all this effort and all this education she's giving, and you yourself as well. And I just feel like that's not part of my season anymore. My season is now to now work on me, worked on myself when I was young, and now my kids, it was 100% of me was put into those kids. And now it's time for me to get back in art, drawing and painting. And, one of the things that COVID really angered me about was we used to go to this homeless shelter, and my family and we would go and feed people. And we haven't done that. Everything's been cut off. And so, I'm looking forward to getting things back to normal again.
Well, you've got a heart of gold for sure. And who knows where God's going to go with your next steps, because you still have so much to offer people. And maybe it's not a workout show, but maybe there's something else there that God's going to open up and you're going to reveal to you right over this next year or so. And you'll be like, okay, this is my next chapter, what I'm going to do. Speaking of, you had some books that you wrote.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in creating a new book? Because maybe that could be a new avenue to get more information out.
I don't know. A lot of people are saying, why don't you write a book? And I'm like, who would want to read it? Like there's
lots of
so
people.
much fitness information out there. I don't know.
Lots.
I don't
You're
know.
cute. You're cute. Well, just put it in the back of your brain and hey,
Yeah.
all kinds of people sell books. So.
Like I'm listening, really. I'm like, God, tell me what you want me to do next. It's like I'm ready, and I'm, I think I need to start really getting back into my artwork. I really do,
Okay.
and then, maybe off things off to go towards children's benefits or animal rescues or, helping people in need through the churches. That's what I'm kind of thinking is to use my other gifts that God gave me. And instead of let's sit there and do nothing, I should honor it somehow.
I love that. Well, I will keep that in prayers that God will reveal those things to you. And it's kind of interesting. So I had my goddaughter who has the girl that been helping to raise now for the last, we met her in 2014. She was 11. And she and I were discussing kind of like, what she's a junior in high school and what is, this next year a senior going to look like? What is after school going to look like? What avenues do we want to look through and look for? And so I said, what's the biggest prayer you have right now about it? And she goes, well, just the direction of, what I'm supposed to be doing and the path I'm supposed to be taking. And I said, and it was so interesting because I sat there and listened to her and I said, I want you to realize that I'm 50 years old now. In October, I turned 50. And I said, those are still my prayers for myself. I said, it doesn't ever end because every year new things come into our life, new people, new opportunities. Sometimes they're great opportunities and sometimes they're not. And we have to step back and say, okay, Lord, what route are we supposed to be taking here? I want to do your will and I want to be on your path. And it was just like this cool conversation because I wanted her to know that it's okay if you don't know and you're asking God for this next chapter and this next direction. And it's something you will do for the rest of your life. I'm like, can you imagine that I'm 50 still having that same prayer for myself? And she's like, I think it was just kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
63 and I'm still having that same prayer too. So,
what do you want to be when you grow up, Cory?
I know. Oh my God.
That's awesome. What roles? I know you had some different roles. I kind of saw them on, I think, Wikipedia or something. So do you have any of your favorite roles that you could, share that you enjoyed, either movies or TV?
Yes. My favorite is Hercules. When I was on Hercules with Kevin Sorbo, and I played a blacksmith, and I love that character because she was basically me. It was so easy to play. She was this strong girl, but still kind of like innocent and shy, inside, but, wanted to always do good and wanted to help other people and, wanted to help Hercules and had a little crush on Hercules. And, I just, I love that character. And she was so strong, but she was also so little girly, kind of like at the same time. So I love that character. And then the character on Double Impact that I did with Jean-Claude was so weird. It was like she's this redheaded murderer. I'm like, okay, that's so not me. But it was kind of the neat part to play because, you could just get kind of ugly, and play this ugly character. But it's, what's funny is I never pursued acting, and the parts that I got were given to me. I never had to try out really for a part. And, some of the favorite parts that I did were the ones where Cameo and my sister, we played sisters. And so we were sisters on Briscoe County Junior. We were sisters on another show. We were sisters on Renegade. And it was fun doing it with her because I never really had the confidence, you know, to do acting, and I thought I sucked anyways. But you know, it was more of like this persona that you show. You know, I really wanted to do this character called the She-Hulk with Oliver Stone, but that just never happened, you know. But we were actually met with Stan Lee, and you know, we were going to actually do the show, and we didn't do it. But and then we did, you know, our show Got a Sweat, which was not acting, but just instructing and motivating. And I really loved that, but I never pursued it. It really wasn't me. You know, it was this weird world of all artificial to me. And I really didn't like it. You know, I didn't like it. I think I'm I'm from the Midwest, and I think I'm so grateful that I am from the Midwest and that I was raised by European parents. And, you know, it just kind of kept me a little more stable, I think, in that way. So I see a lot of actors struggle, and I see them go in the wrong direction, and I see a lot of problems in their lives. And life is hard enough to make good choices all the time. And then when you're tempted with some of the other stuff, you know, it's like you just have to say, God, this is your property. Come help me. You know, this belongs to you. Come help me. So.
Wow. So you said the roles just came to you. They find you through the magazines. Did Jeff kind of get out there and know some people, or how did they get in touch with you?
I knew Jean-Claude from Gladys, Portuguese.
Okay.
That's who he was married to at the time. So I kind of got that part. And then the Hercules one I got because I knew Bruce Campbell, who I did his show, Briscoe County. He was my neighbor. And so I got that through him. And then he was friends with the people that did Hercules. And so I got that part, you know. So I never really had to try out for a part because I would never get the part if I had to try out because I'm not good. So I don't mind being truthful about that. But I did enjoy it. I did enjoy it once I was in it. So, and Kevin Sorbo is amazing. He's this amazing Christian, and he's just fantastic. And so at least my experience with that show, because I was on there a number of times, was fantastic.
Oh, that's fun. Okay, one last question, and then I want to go to rapid fire, and we're going to have to kind of wrap up here. Well, I say one last question. One last question about this. As a cover model, when your first cover came out, do you remember which one it was and where you were when it came out? And was it a surprise? Was it cool? Were you just like flippant about it? What was your reaction? And which one was it?
I hated it.
You hated it.
I think it was so ugly. It was so ugly. It was a Flex, I think it was a Flex magazine cover. And I had this wild, like crazed hair. And I just didn't like it. It was just not attractive at all. But I actually liked the covers I did later when I wasn't competing better than the ones when I was competing. So Robert Reef did a lot of my favorite covers, and so did Mike Nevue. I mean, they're amazing. And but that first cover, I think, was a Flex magazine cover, and I still hate it.
Well, wasn't it? That's so funny. I mean, a lot of times for Flex, they didn't necessarily make like a cover shoot. It was just they pulled a picture and it would go on the cover, right? Like they didn't really make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was like.
And Muscle Mag International was the same.
It wasn't a cover. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was just
so
it showed up.
You're all greasy and nasty looking. And, yeah.
Well, obviously somebody thought it was going to sell, and somebody liked it. Yeah,
I guess. But what was kind of neat was, like getting covers from different countries that you didn't even know existed. Like all of a sudden you see online a cover from Japan or from Mexico or, or Slovakia. And it's kind of neat. I remember when we were adopting our kids in Russia and we were going through this subway below, and they had posters of me, and they were in the subway, and this Russian guy is like trying to have me buy this poster of myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. Where did you get that? But people would print pictures that they see and make posters and video covers. And, there was really no control over it. I mean, as athletes, that's all you really have, but yet, not in this world. I mean, people take your picture and put it all over your name. You probably have the same thing happen to you all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's so funny. I have a guy that sends me new covers. He emails them to me. Well, they're not new, but they're new to me, like different international covers that I like. Probably 2 weeks ago, I got an email from him with some cover from some other country, back from the late 90s, and I'm on it. And I was like, oh, it was just so cool. Like, you just get them out of the blue every once in a while, and you're like, oh. Yeah. So, we probably don't really know how many covers we have out there, because there's probably so many we just even haven't seen. But yeah. Well, I'm sorry you didn't have a.
So beautiful. I love your cover.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry you didn't enjoy your first cover and have a good memory of that. That's a shame.
Do you remember your first one?
Mm-hmm. This one. Can you see? So yeah, that's and that I wasn't anybody back then. I had done nothing, and I met Ralph DeHaan at a bodybuilding show. I was dating a guy that was competing, and he introduced me to John Perillo, and John Perillo introduced me to Ralph and Steve Winterstrom. And Ralph told me, if you ever come out to California, look me up, and gave me his number. He says, look me up, and I'd love to do a test shoot with you. And I didn't know he was a Muscle Mag cover or contracted photographer. I didn't know what that meant. I barely even knew what bodybuilding was. It was just, so that's Dennis Newman. right after he won the USA.
Oh.
He was the golden child at the time, the golden boy.
Steve Winterstrom was the first person who took pictures of me when I was only a track athlete in the pentathlon. And I remember he was showing it to the bodybuilding world, saying, yeah, these girls got some muscle, but it was like Steve Winterstrom taking pictures of me high jumping and being in relays and long jumping and shot putting. So that's
I wonder, cool. He's got to still have them. I bet he does. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. He's awesome. I want to have him on the show sometime. I think it'd be fun to have him on, and maybe when I have him on, have some of the women that know him come on and say hello to him. I think it'd be fun. So we've got Quitman over here.
Great idea.
Yeah. So Quitman, one of our viewers, says the Planet Muscle cover in the Santa outfit is the favorite of Cory, his favorite of Cory. There we go. Do you know which one he's talking about?
Oh.
Do you remember that cover?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Jeff asked me. Yeah, I do. I think Mike Nephew, I think, took that picture. So
okay.
I
love
Santa. So I love Christmas, and I love.
So you were good with that cover. You were good with that one. Okay, so we've got some other awesome comments over here. John Butler, Cory looks amazing. She looks 20 years younger than her actual age. Good on her. And
thank you. It's that light.
It's a lighting. No. Nicholas Ruiz says, 2 awesome lady champions. Thank you. Thank you. Lisa wrote something. Can you bring that up Claudia, the one for Lisa, the longer one, because I can't read it real well here. I'm trying to see my screen, but anyways, she's got something in here. Yep, there we go. Miss Cory Everson, I thought you were amazing in the fitness magazines and what you've done in fitness over the years. Hearing you speak today in this interview, learning more of who you are as a woman, your love for God, and some of your journey, I find you even more fascinating. I would read your book if you wrote one.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
So sweet. Thanks, Lisa. That's the gal up in Canada. Well, I think two, because Quitman said he would read it too. 2 sales. Okay. All right, girl.
Okay, good.
Let's go over and do some fun rapid fire questions. Just something, and these are supposed to be fast because we're already over our hour time. Okay. So we're going to go fast.
Okay.
And I know, and then I have 2 final questions for you, and then we'll be done. Okay. All right, Cory, are you ready?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
If you could only do hair or your makeup for 1 month, which one would it be?
Neither.
Oh.
I hate wearing makeup and I hate doing my hair. So look how short it is now.
It's cute on you.
I'm
cute.
becoming an adult. Thank you.
List 3 things you do in your daily routine.
Brush my teeth, put on deodorant, and go to the gym.
Okay. Do you prefer to eat your chocolate chip cookies baked or dough?
Dough.
Yeah, me too. Best glute exercise for a woman.
Bounding.
Bounding.
Bounding upstairs. Best glute exercise ever.
And same for men or different for men?
Same.
Okay. Bounding upstairs. Okay. If you could relive one Olympia, which would it be?
It would be my first one.
Okay.
Because I had no idea I was going to win, and the head judge didn't even have me in the top 10. So it was a random, lucky thing that happened at first Olympia.
Wow. Okay. Name one male bodybuilder you would enjoy living in their shoes for a month at their prime. And it could be anyone from the old to the new.
Barry DeMay.
Ooh. Why?
Barry DeMay, for sure.
Yeah. Any
He's
particular
so fun. Oh my God. We went to Chicago and stayed at my mom's house. Him and I and Jeff, and we had to guest pose in like Michigan and Wisconsin, and we laughed our butts off, and we had so much fun. We were like blacking out our teeth and doing our hair weird, and we were just being so silly and having so much fun. So for sure, Barry DeMay.
That's fun. Okay. If you had to go to a deserted island, what 3 things would you take with you?
Toilet paper, my toothbrush, and an elastic band for exercising.
Okay. If you had to choose one word for the year 2021 for yourself, do you have a word that you could choose?
Wait, if I had to choose one word, what?
Yeah, for one word for yourself for 2021, what word would that be?
Forgiveness.
Okay, that's good. That's the best F word ever. Okay, favorite holiday tradition with your kids?
We always opened up our Christmas presents the night before, and the kids can go into their stockings and open their stockings. So it's always every single year the same thing.
So Santa comes to your house before Christmas then? Because isn't he the one that fills the stockings?
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, that's
okay.
the way it is in Europe. And so
okay.
It's on the 24th in the evening. And so we've always celebrated Christmas in the evening.
Okay, that's fun. Okay, favorite body part to train and least favorite body part to train.
Legs is my favorite, and my least favorite is legs.
Perfect. I think that's perfect.
I love training legs, but it hurts.
Yeah. Well, it's so much territory there to train. And yes. Okay, so
I love
where can people find you online, Cory?
I just have a Instagram page and a Facebook page. So I don't even know what they're called. I think the Instagram is Cory Everson MS.O because somebody took my name, some kid. So it's Cory Everson Miss period O, and then the athlete page is just Cory Everson athlete. So yeah, I try to post a lot of fitness stuff on there and some tips and stuff. So
yeah, so social media can be a love-hate thing, right? Trying to interact with people, but then when you get to interact with great people, then makes it worthwhile. So I love the fact that you said that you became a Christian because that's near and dear to my heart. I'm a faith-filled gal myself, and I think that's the most important decision that anyone can make ever. It's like the number one important. So yeah, so that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that and just being, just speaking that, because I think it's important for people to share about their faith. And sometimes people, it's not something that they just share. So I appreciate you giving that advice, or not that advice, but just that part about you.
I'm really proud of it. And I'm really if I would have any regrets at all, it would be that I didn't become a Christian and have this relationship with Jesus years before. I did because when we adopted the kids, I wanted to give them the best chance they possibly could have in life. And, growing up, we were Catholic and go to church and only on occasions, Christmas and Easter and stuff. And I think it's really important for making good choices and knowing what a good, healthy walk is, with the Lord. I mean, it's like if you take these things seriously, you're not going to make mistakes. And, have just so much of a better outlook on things and have. I think that if I were a Christian way back, I wouldn't have made those mistakes. And so I just think that everybody should really open up their hearts and open up their lives and open up their soul, because I think it really does makes you grow in beautiful, beautiful ways.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're right. You're right about that. And I think that we could probably do a whole nother show just on that, right? Just talking about faith and what it means to you,
absolutely.
Because that's such an important part, especially now. People don't have hope. People don't have hope anymore. And the people that have, if they don't, what do they say that someone can go, 5-6 weeks, or, depending on how heavy they are, they can go numerous weeks without food. You can go, 2, 3, 4 days max, again, depending on how hot it is and how dehydrated you are without water. But you can't go for 1 minute alive without hope. Like that's when, people commit suicide and, people that are sick and they just have no hope. Like, yeah. And so I did a little word study one time on hope because I found that I felt like it was just a watered down word. And hope in the Bible and how it's used in the Bible is God's promise. And when we use the word hope, typically we talk about a dream or a wish or a desire, like, oh, I hope it's not going to rain today on my new washed car. I hope that, I can, wake up on time. Like, we just use this word so randomly and without any real meat behind it, and any power behind it. And when God uses the word hope, it's about his divine and supernatural ending of for us in heaven. It's about who he is and what he's done for us and what he did on the cross and what he has for us. And I think that it's such an important word to learn about because, people talk about, well, they don't have any hope. Well, because you put your hope in the wrong thing.
Yes.
Is that?
I 100% agree. And I think that the hope goes towards, we're on this earth for a very short amount of time, but our forever life is so grand and so beautiful. And I can't even imagine not having faith that there is something bigger and more beautiful there and that we get to see our loved ones again. And I just can't even imagine not having that faith. Life would seem so empty and so finite, and there's so much to open a Bible and read the Bible, and there's so many reasons to have hope and understand grace and understand blessings. And I used to always say, oh, I'm not lucky. I'm not lucky. I'm blessed. I've been blessed. And when you're blessed, now you return that blessing to other people. And it just makes the world better. It makes people more beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure. I guess Claudia's getting our ending here wrapping up for us. But I love where your heart is, and I want to ask you one last question. What advice can you share with our viewers and for them to stay fit and love life? Because that's something that I've written on 8x10s for since I started writing on 8x10s back in the 90s. So stay fit, love life. So I'm asking you, what advice can you share with our viewers on how to stay fit and love life? What ways can they stay fit, and what can they do to stay fit and to love life?
To love life, to take little baby steps. Like you don't have to train like Miss Olympia to improve your life. You don't have to train like Monica Brandt to improve your life. Little baby steps. Take one more step today than you took yesterday. Use your phone app. Make sure that you did another step today. It's not about like a race. It's more about the long, slow distance. We call it LSD training, long, slow distance. It's a little bit every single day. And when you look at fitness, not necessarily to change the shape of your body, but you look at it to feel better about yourself inside, then it's easier to love. Like otherwise you keep challenging yourself. Oh, I look the same as I did yesterday. Well, it's not about that. It's about how do you feel? What's your health? What are your health markers? Because when you go into health and fitness and you look at it in the grand scheme of things, that's the important part. And that's what makes it fun.
I love it. Thank you so much, Cory. Well, your energy is second to none, and I just really appreciate having the time with you. I loved having you here. Love you too so much. Thank you for your time tonight. And I know for our viewers watching, we're going to play a video for you. So you guys, once we close out the show, Make sure you stay tuned and watch the video. It's all about Cory, some of her fabulous journeys. So Cory, thank you so much. Big hug. Big hug. All right, you guys. So sorry about the audio tonight, but I hope.
Love
yeah. Oh, bye, Cory. So sorry about the audio tonight, guys, but it was super fun getting to hear all the good things about Cory and her past. I mean, she's got such a decorated past and so much that she's done. I'm just in awe, and really was awesome to have you guys interacting and to be here tonight with me and Cory. So thank you guys for joining us. And we will be back again next week with more awesome guests as usual. And you guys, if you enjoyed tonight's episode and you've enjoyed the other ones, please do like and subscribe to the channel. That helps keep our viewers or our guests happy to have the viewers. And just appreciate all of you guys. So thank you so much for joining tonight. Have a blessed rest of your night. And God bless you guys.